Well, DevCentral community, it is that time again. It's Thursday at 12:30 Pacific. It's DevCentral Connects. I'm John. This is Jason. Jason, how's it going today, man?
Fantastic.
It's just a great day. It's always a great day when we get to connect with all of you, the DevCentral audience, and today is no different. And as we do every time, we are streaming live to YouTube and LinkedIn and Periscope. And now we're on Twitch, by the way. So all you gamers out there, give us a little shout out, comment with us, connect with us, interact with us. We want to hear from you.
Drop us some game tips because I'm woefully lacking in skill in that area.
Yeah, do you remember like back in the old Nintendo days, it was the up, up, down, down, left, right, whatever, Eternal Lives for whatever it was. I don't even remember all that stuff. But
Contra or something like that.
Contra, that's right. Yeah, so where's Contra when we need it? But hey, so Jason, really quick to start off, we in America just celebrated what we call Groundhog Day. And I think that's just an American thing. Isn't that right?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know that they celebrate that anywhere else.
Well,
I mean, not every country has a Punxsutawney Phil.
Well, that's true. So I don't know that any other country should, not that I've got an axe to grind with the groundhogs, but anyway, it's crazy, so we've got all this sophisticated weather equipment and modeling architecture, simulation technology. But what do we do here in America? We cast our eyes to the east, to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, to Gobbler's Knob. And then there's a groundhog named Phil that pops out of the ground. And whether he sees his shadow or not tells us if we're going to have more winter or not. It's a crazy tradition, but here it is. People love it, right?
Yeah. We even have some friends in our area who are like Punxsutawney Phil fanatics. Like they went 2 years in a row to the showing. And I think they even have like a commemorative brick in their name there. So
and why not, right?
Right. It's a little crazy. Yeah.
The thing that I don't get is if the groundhog sees his shadow, then it's 6 more weeks of winter, right? Yeah. Which in my mind is completely counterproductive or counterintuitive, because I'm thinking if it's a nice sunny day and now he's going to see a shadow because the sun is out, wouldn't that mean that we've got more like the spring is coming quicker? But that's not how it goes. It's just the opposite. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, and I was reading an article really quick. Apparently Punxsutawney's not the only groundhog floating around these parts. So Staten Island has one. I don't know if you remember the governor of New York City a year or so ago, Bill de Blasio, he actually dropped one of the groundhogs. Not that I'm laughing about that, but Staten Island Chuck is one of the groundhogs. There's Jimmy the Groundhog in Wisconsin. There's General Beauregard Lee in Georgia, which, by the way, Beauregard Lee has been given an honorary doctorate degree from the University of Georgia in weather forecasting.
I don't think that says anything good about the University of Georgia.
Well, or the weather forecasters. These people are like, hey, it's going to rain and it doesn't, or it's going to be sunny and it's not, and you can't argue with them. So anyway, So there's all these groundhogs. Anyway, I say all that to say we just celebrated that just a couple of days ago. So, happy Groundhog Day to everybody.
I don't know that I celebrated it, but, I know there are some who do.
Some who do. Yeah. So there we are. There we find ourselves.
And I'm definitely not celebrating 6 more weeks of winter.
No, goodness.
Because I'm not that old, but I feel like I'm already at the age where I'm coveting Florida and the 4 o'clock dinners and the 6 o'clock bedtimes and the nice hot sweltering heat.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it just sounds like an amazing time.
Yeah.
One last thing about Punxsutawney Phil. Apparently the guy's only accurate like 30% of the time. So, which maybe that's why I got the doctorate of weather from the University of Georgia, because that's about what all of you weather forecasters, of you weather forecasters out there, we love you. We appreciate you. So anyway, good to go. All right, man. Well, hey, we've got an awesome show. We've got a couple of people. Was that Tony?
Tony, the Contra code. Yeah, I thought it was Contra.
Tony, what is it, man? Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA or something like that. So
I miss the days where I could just really push buttons and still win games. There's no way you can do that anymore with the.
You can't play Fortnite and do an up, up, down, down or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So good stuff.
And we got Rodrigo in the house. It is Rodrigo. Good to see you, man.
Awesome, man. Good to see you out there, my man, Rodrigo. And then BLX.
Yeah.
Klaus Schwab virus. I don't know what that means.
Is that related to the groundhog? Maybe
it could be. Maybe there's another groundhog out there.
Yeah.
Who knows? It sounds German. Maybe it's Deutschland groundhog. So good stuff. Good to go, man. Well, hey, the Groundhog has nothing to do with our show today. I just thought that's a fun thing to talk about because it just happened. So anyway, but what we're talking about today, we've got some amazing people that are going to join us today on the show and talk about some amazing technology that all of you need to know about. Whether you knew you needed to know this or not, the answer is you do need to know about this. And so we're talking about this technology called device ID. Did you know that you could actually identify your device, right? And did you know that you should do that? So we're going to talk about all that today. So Jason, I guess maybe let's transition and bring on our first awesome person.
All right, let's do it.
Awesome. Mr. Summit, welcome to DevCentral Connects. It's great to see you.
Hey, great to be here, John, Jason. So nice to see you.
Awesome, man. The Vice President of Product Management, and number one in the hearts of all of us, Mr. Summit.
Indeed.
Awesome, man. Well, Summit, again, thanks so much. And we're talking about device ID. So for those of us who have never really heard about this thing, like what is device ID? Where did it come from? Maybe give us a little bit of background on this thing.
Well, we kind of regret the amount of money that we paid the branding agency to come up with the name Device ID, because as you might be able to guess from the name, Device ID identifies browsers and mobile devices. It helps you understand that here's a user that's been coming in from the same computer over and over. They might not log in on this visit, but it's the same person who logged in yesterday. They're coming in from the same browser, the same piece of computing infrastructure. Same thing on mobile. You can tell that this is the same iPhone that has entered your environment many times before. Now, conversely, you can say, you know what? I've never seen this mobile device. I've never seen this browser before. And you can keep track of things like the ratio between new and old. So it's a way of gaining visibility into the application usage by users. They can be end users. They can be employees coming into your corporate portal. It's a really simple and broad-based tool. I'm guessing that most of our viewers in general have some form or flavor of device ID. It's a really fundamental thing.
Yeah. I actually was going to ask what device meant, because somebody shared a tool that I was playing with it a little bit yesterday, and I came in from Chrome and then Chrome Incognito, and my residue didn't change. But then I came in from Firefox, and everything was different from the other, but it was still all associated in my same data to my fake ID I used, or my fake email I used.
Fake ID.
Yeah. What?
You nailed it. Right? So devices can be browsers and devices can be mobile devices, iPhones, Androids, and so forth. Those are the two fundamental categories, which I just think of as large format and small format. We cover both those use cases. And the thing that you did, right, which is trying to understand and explore what it does in different scenarios. That's exactly what criminals do. That's what attackers and fraudsters do. That's what normal users do infrequently. They might switch browsers if they've just decided that they need to go from Firefox to Chrome, or if they bought a new computer. And so those are exactly the kinds of telltale indicators that make device ID so useful.
He called me a criminal, and I felt seen there for a second.
Jason, the truth hurts. The truth hurts, Jason.
Criminal, simulated.
That's right.
That's right. Of course.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. So, okay, so you'll know, like, hey, this iPhone has joined has accessed my application before, or maybe it has not. So I guess maybe if I have my iPhone, I'm calling out iPhone. Maybe I've got a Samsung. Maybe I've got a Google Pixel or whatever, right? It doesn't really matter, I guess.
That's right. Doesn't matter.
So maybe I'm on that thing, and then someone else steals it. I lay it down on the park bench, and they steal it, and then they come in. Will you be able to tell that, hey, this is, like, if someone else is using now that same phone, or is it like, hey, no, that phone just accessed my stuff again?
No. So device ID is a really fundamental capability that doesn't get down to the level of, let me give you an even more subtle example.
Yeah.
Let's just say that you've logged into your computer and it's sitting at your kitchen table, and you get up and your teenage son or daughter comes and sits down. So clearly, teenagers. I mean, that's really the threat and the menace in society. They sit down at your computer. There's just no way for a technology like device ID to be able to tell the difference. Understanding the actual human being behind the keyboard is something that a fraud solution would do. It's something that Device ID contributes to. Now, in your example of the phone use case, you're making an assumption for the conversation that has a lot of elements to it. So somebody's now beaten the biometric. They've either got your PIN code or they've got some ability to simulate your fingerprint. Those are pretty difficult things to do.
Yep.
And it's not really, Device ID is not really about finding the one, evil joker like mastermind who gets into your environment because that's what he wants to do this year. It's really about giving you this broad-based way for free. I don't know if we mentioned to the audience that Device ID is a totally free service that just brings your game of security and of IT operations up, 5%, 10%, whatever the percentage may be. For your very, very exotic use cases, like a targeted attack, Device ID is just one contributing ingredient that you'd need to use in conjunction with other tools and capabilities.
Okay.
Yeah, I mentor a robotics team, and we do odometry for how the robot moves around the field and all that. And some of the stuff that goes into direction and speed and all that, the more sensors and the more information that you can bring in, the more accurate your navigation on the field is. And so I kind of akin that to Device ID. It's like it's not solving all of a problem, but it's giving you a piece of it. It's adding a layer to be able to, whatever problem you're trying to solve, whatever kind of identification you're trying to do, Device ID is a component of that, but it's not the whole story.
That's right. That's right. We had one of our customers, actually, it's a university, that just said, listen, we struggle to get budget for new IT tools and capabilities. So if you're telling us that this is an official F5 supported product, something that's getting the benefit of tons and tons of R&D that you're continuing to put on it, and we can have it for free, that's just a home run. Why would we not do that? We asked them if they had ongoing security issues at that time. We always ask that question so that we can be helpful. And the customer said, no, I don't, but I know that something's going to happen to me in the future. And when that happens, I'm going to have a quarter or a year of this Device ID just being published into my Splunk logs. And that's going to help me radically when I have to do forensics on what did happen. So that's really a powerful thing that can only come about when you have a free offering. The ability to say, I don't have an issue right now. Why wouldn't I add this in? It's only going to add value in the future. So we were really happy with that use case.
Yeah, that's a great thing. And, goodness knows there are so many devices out there. I'd be interested to, and I know you don't have specifics, right now, which is totally fine, but just my mind is curious about, in maybe a large scale enterprise environment, how many devices are connecting to that thing every day or every second or whatever. And it's like, it's just got to get out of control, and to know which ones are which is amazingly, beneficial, right?
That's right. That's right. It's remarkable. If you're looking at a consumer-facing use case, you could be talking about tens of millions. If you're talking about the employee use case, I think the aha moment for a lot of people that I talk to is they thought, hey, I have 4,000 employees in my organization, so maybe I expect 4,000 devices. But what you really end up with is 2 or 3x that number. So maybe somebody in corporate IT that was doing device management kind of knew that because they've registered or enrolled or have some software on all of those devices. But you might be surprised at the number of devices that people have and that they use for work. It's definitely 2, 3, 4x these days easily, depending on where you are.
Yeah. I know personally, I can count at least 3 I use very regularly. I've got 2 development devices. Oh, actually 4 now, because I have 2 development devices, my laptop, the streaming device, my phone. I'm already at 5 for me personally.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
there you go.
That doesn't count your internet connected speaker and your refrigerator and your toaster.
That's right.
And your television and all the other things. I look at my home network, frankly, I'm just looking at my home, and I've got my kids and whatever. And it's like, man, we got 50 devices up in this thing.
Yeah.
What is this? I need Device ID. Summit. I need
That's
it.
right. That's right.
What
And we
are
can just
these
get
things?
in there and figure out which one is killing the Zoom connection, right? So you can have a
Exactly.
video conference.
Exactly. So what a phenomenal technology to have. And I know you've mentioned this a couple of times, but it's completely free, right?
Yep.
Completely free. People ask us, why are you doing this? And that's a really great story. F5 acquired Shape Security for about $1 billion a year ago. And as part of that acquisition, F5 challenged Shape to say, what can we do to give back? We have so much technical capability. We're sort of blessed with the amount of technology, with the people that we have, with the capabilities that we have. What can we really do to say thank you to our customers, say thank you to the world at large, and really raise the bar of security throughout society, throughout the entire ecosystem and the environment. And so we looked around in our kind of portfolio and said, here's a fundamental capability. It's the core of our bot mitigation. It's the core of our anti-fraud capability. It's the core of our friction reduction capability, right? The ability to make user journeys smoother and better and faster. It's universal. We've already put tons of R&D into it to develop it. We use it ourselves. We're putting lots of ongoing R&D into it. So we can actually take this out, modularize it, and make it available to all of our customers. So we think it's a win-win. We can make it available on our side at relatively low cost, just the operational cost. And of course, there's no licensing cost to any of our customers. It benefits from ongoing R&D, and it serves as a way for us to say thank you and just to raise the bar for security in the world.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I tell you, I mean, it really hits to the heart of, not to get too philosophical with F5 and our values and all that, but just the human first. We are all human, and, let's do the right thing no matter what. I think that this is just one of the outcries of that. So it's just a beautiful kind of put your money where your mouth is sort of thing. And we did, and we're doing that. So I love that. Good deal. All right.
So yeah, to answer
Galatulus,
Gal, is device ID free for everyone? Yes.
Yeah.
Device ID is free for all existing F5 or Nginx customers, which is a huge number of people. And that should be, most of the people on this call. If you are not an F5 customer or an Nginx customer or a Shape customer or a Volterra customer, one of our more recent acquisitions, then please do reach out to us, and we'll probably grant you access. So we didn't want to just throw the doors open to the entire world. That would be a little bit too extreme. But certainly anybody that's listening in on this show, if you're an existing customer, of course, no issue. And if you're not, but you're interested, just ping us and we'll get you set up.
Nice. Cool. Nice. And yeah, we'll be a little later in the show. We'll actually show, how you can download it and some of that. But just reach out to us and we'll do that. Awesome. Well, good to go. Well, Summit, it's awesome to get an overview of what this technology is, why it's important, and how it helps, and how F5 is backing this. I mean, there's here on DevCentral, it's been kind of an awesome thing for our community sometimes to just play around with the technology and share some code. And it's like, hey, I did this thing, I wrote this script. Everybody can just go kind of play with it or whatever. But it may not necessarily be supported, fundamentally. But device ID is.
Absolutely.
So F5's behind it. We're supporting it. We're developing it. And like you said, existing customer or those who are interested in it, you get it for free, and you see all those benefits. I love it.
That's great. Good stuff, John. Good stuff, Jason. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the show. Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming on. Have a good day, man.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Smriti, it's good to see you today. So Smriti is product manager here with Device ID. So welcome to the DevCentral Connects show. Awesome. Oh, I think we may be on mute. There we go.
Hey, thank you for having me here.
There you are, man. It's good. It's great to see you. It's great to see you. So we just talked to Summit, obviously, and he told us about the talked about the device ID technology and how you can use it and why it's important and all that stuff. So for you, I know you've been like in the trenches with some customers who are using this and who have seen the benefit of device ID already in their environment. So maybe tell us a little bit about that, and then I think we have a little video we can even show as well. So anyway, so tell us a little bit about the customer and what they've been able to do.
Absolutely. So what we are seeing with Device ID customers is that we're helping them answer two main questions. One is, are you seeing a lot of your returning users? Or basically to identify which one of your users are returning users versus which one of them is a new user. And the second thing that we help them answer is, are you seeing any kind of anomalies in your environment? So with the help of those two questions, some of our customers have been able to implement security-based use cases or fraud-based use cases. The use cases for device ID are actually very, very diverse, a very versatile capability. So, we have security, we have fraud, we have digital identity, we have marketing teams. So used across all different kinds of use cases and across all different types of verticals, be it retail, finance, universities, educational. So we've seen a lot of adoption across different verticals for different use cases. And I think it would be great for us to listen or hear some feedback from one of these customers about how they've been using it.
Yeah, let's check it out,
All right.
man. How do they use this thing? All right, so we'll roll the video. We'll talk about it.
Hi, my name is Daniel Ehrlich, and I'm a senior cybersecurity engineer at the University of Southern Queensland. We are a leading Australian regional university that specialises in online education. We've been utilising F5 application delivery controllers since 2008 and currently utilise LTM, APM and ASM modules for application delivery, single sign-on and security. One of the challenges we face is detecting compromised accounts. As many organisations do, we utilise a SIEM platform to correlate user activity with geographic location based on source IP address. If you've tried doing this as we have, you would be aware of the challenges faced when customers utilise private VPN services to enable them to access geo-specific online content. For example, a customer you regularly identify as being located in Australia suddenly appears from a North American IP address. And you ask yourself, is this malicious activity from a compromised account or someone catching up on their latest mini-series? Device ID Plus gives us an advantage in this situation where we can ingest device IDs into our SIEM and cross-correlate geolocation change alerts to confirm if we have observed the same device before. This will reduce the noise of legitimate customers who use VPNs and provide better accuracy for detected events. This saves our security team time, alert fatigue, and provides them confidence when investigating these correlated events. We found Device ID Plus was quick to deploy and has given us immediate, actionable data which we think will be useful for a variety of other use cases.
All right, fantastic. So that was Queensland in Australia, right? I love that accent, by the way. It's
No kidding.
it always sounds so sophisticated. So good deal. So yeah, I mean, he was talking about, hey, if you're normally in Australia, then all of a sudden your device pops up in North America. Hey, something might be going on. Granted, there are airplanes and you can travel.
Right.
I get all that, but maybe not, right? So
But maybe it's not time travel. Maybe you're not showing up in Australia and in America in the matter of, let's say, half an hour.
half an hour, that doesn't exist. That's exactly right. So you can start putting all that together, right, Smriti?
Correct. So with device ID, you can combine that with a lot of other information, and that kind of gives you an idea of, are we seeing any kind of anomaly activities on your application? So you can combine it with your geolocations. You can combine it with the usernames that they are checking now. So if, let's say, I am using my own personal laptop, I may have one or two accounts depending on what application it is. If it's a bank, I may have just one account. But if it's, let's say, Starbucks, I may have two accounts. Who knows? I like free coffee.
That's right. Of course, we understand, Smriti. No need to
We
justify.
all like free coffee.
Yeah,
except
we
me,
get
I
it.
don't drink coffee.
We get it.
Exactly. So depending on all of that, you can identify if, let's say, one device is accessing hundreds of accounts and then it becomes suspicious, or if you're seeing one account being accessed from hundreds of devices. Now, like we were calculating earlier, we may have 4 or 5 different devices that I can log into my own personal account with. But if I'm seeing one username being accessed from, let's say, 100 different devices, then that is suspicious, because it could be indicative of a fraudster who knows that the account is correct, trying to check whether they're able to log in from different devices or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's critical information. I mean, I think about stuff like, the credential stuffing. If you got one device trying to just cram into tons of accounts or whatever, you could use this 1,000 different ways, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, even the way the payment card processing, your banks track, where you go with your card. So it's like if I'm around my neighborhood, it's fine. But if I've used my card in, the gas station up the street from my house, and then all of a sudden, 30 minutes later, somebody spent $3,000 at Best Buy in California. Not that that's happened to me. They
awesome.
kind of flag that, and you get the fraud notice. Did somebody, did you validate this purchase? It's like, no, I did not.
No, I did not. No, not that one. Good deal. Well, that's awesome. Well, so Smriti, I know we had we wanted to see like, hey, Summit said, if you want this technology, you can download it for free and use it and all that stuff. So you were going to show us like where we can go and how we can get a hold of this goodness, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. So maybe we'll share your screen up here and you can lead the way.
For sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things that we had heard from customers, or some feedback that we had heard, was they wanted something that is easy to get their hands on, easy to deploy, and then very simple to consume with their existing products. Because a lot of the other software products that they're using take up a lot of resources from their end that could be very time consuming. That kind of deters them from adopting the capabilities. So what we did was we made this we made Device ID to be available on F5 Cloud Services, which is our portal here. You can simply log in with your credentials. If you don't have a credential, you can create one. Very simple fields that you need to add in about what organization you are, what email address you're using with the account, etc. So once you're logged in, let me just share my screen of what you would see after you've logged in.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my account that shows all of the different products that are there on F5 Cloud Services. And if you scroll down here, you see Device ID with that lovely green logo here that says it's free for use. I'm going to zoom in a little bit there so you guys can see it.
I love it. Smriti, the price is right, is what I like to say.
And then here's a tiny button that says subscribe free. And it says you can use this service for free and we can unsubscribe at any time. So I hit subscribe and it's going to subscribe it for me. And then I can simply say, go to this service.
Nice.
And then here I can see I'm subscribed to Device ID. This is where all my subscriptions show up. And I can simply click here, get started. And it shows me two options that I can use the JavaScript with. So Device ID leverages a very lightweight JavaScript, which will collect all the required signals that are required for creating my identifier or my device ID. So either I can use a direct JS snippet, or I can use a big IP IApp to inject my JavaScript, depending on whatever the customer is more comfortable with. So this gives the customers options to choose what they prefer. So let's say I want to go with the JavaScript snippet. Here, after clicking next, it gives me the snippet that I need to inject. It will tell you where to inject your snippet in. So we want to locate the head tag and put the snippet right after the head tag, before the closing of the head tag. And then all you have to do is save your web page. After you've injected the snippet, you can actually paste the URL that you have injected your JavaScript in and test whether the JavaScript injection was successful or not.
Okay.
And that will be all. So I want to walk you guys through the Big IP IApp as well, just so that we know what we are seeing there. So the Big IP IApp, I can say next. Again, it will generate the snippet that I need for the IApp. I have an IApp template here that I can go and download. Beautiful. And then in the template itself, I have a guide here that shows step-by-step on how do I inject, or where do I need to paste this URL in my IApp so that it can inject the JavaScript. And once you've saved your settings and the JavaScript injection is done, you can again paste the URL of your web page where you've injected this JavaScript and test the JavaScript injection. And that's all that needs to be done here. And then I can hit done.
Yeah.
And yeah, these are some of our other things that are going to come up in the next couple of weeks, couple of months. We will have a lovely dashboard here that shows out-of-the-box metrics that can help you identify, if you have anomalies or not, starting from how many devices you're seeing per day, a split between returning versus new devices, how many number of ASNs are you seeing per device, how many user agents are you seeing per device. So a lot of metrics that customers can use to get an idea of, is there any kind of anomaly? Is there something that they need to be worried about? Or, are things working as expected?
Nice.
Yeah, I'm excited to play with that. Part of my Zoom out day started Tuesday. Let me see, it's Thursday. Tuesday night, I started a little ahead of time, and I got a couple hours in last night, but I didn't get as far into learning my new framework that I was learning. But as soon as I get that part built, the JavaScript tag is going in my app so I can play with it, because I'm excited to get that far.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. And I love that there's a step-by-step. It's it really guides you through, like sometimes if you're new to iApps, for example, you may think, hey, these get kind of complicated. There's a lot going on. But we step you right through it. Hey, this is what you need to do. This is where you need to put everything. And you can test it, right? Right where you showed us.
Exactly.
Put in that URL and hit test. And if it's like, hey, everything's good, then there it is. If not, go back through and make sure you're good. And we're always here to help, right, Smriti?
For sure. We're always here to help. We have a very detailed documentation as well for any questions that they have. So if customers want to test it out themselves first without talking to anyone in F5, they have the detailed documentation they can use. If they want to reach out to someone, we do have an email alias for device ID that they can reach out to directly, or you could also reach out to your F5 representatives, your SEs, your SAs. They would all be happy to help. It's pretty straightforward, and it should take anyone less than 30 minutes of their time to be able to inject the JavaScript.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's perfect. So yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think, why would you not do this, right? It's free, it's easy, it's powerful, all that stuff. I can't think of a downside, Smriti. It's just all goodness. It's all a bunch of goodness. Well, that's awesome. Well, good stuff, man. Well, thanks so much for kind of walking us through that. We also have with us today a distinguished guest that's going to walk through maybe some F5, specific technology with how Device ID plays with or interacts with our APM, our Access Policy Manager, and then, what that looks like and that whole experience, right? So maybe
getting actually into the brass tacks, and it's like, we're talking about device ID. It's like, this is what you can actually, one thing that you can actually do with that data.
Yeah. Good to go. So we'll bring on our next guest here. Mr. Corey Marshall, the man, the myth, the legend, all of it.
Hello.
All in one. It's good to see you, my friend.
It's good to see you guys as well. Happy to be with you.
Hey, this is awesome to be here. So, I mean, I'm sure you just saw the amazing truth that Smriti just, brought to us about Device ID and, how easy it is to implement and all that. But we wanted to turn it over to you for a quick second. And Smriti's here as well to we can all just sort of chat about this. How you can implement this using APM, and this is just one of the ways that you can do this thing, right?
I'll tell you what, looking at the comments, it does not require a contra code to get implemented. So no up, down, left, right, BA, select, start. It's really, really simple to get moving with Device ID.
Corey, maybe we can throw that back to product development and add that as a future,
Easter egg.
Little Easter egg. If you do that contra code on Device ID, bam, you get 1 million lives or whatever.
You unlock a free subscription to Beacon or something.
That's right. So yeah, we'll talk offline to the people.
Duly noted.
Good to go. Awesome, man. All right. So APM and Device ID, how does it all work, Corey?
So absolutely. And so APM, if for people who don't know what APM is, it is an access Swiss Army knife. So it covers everything from remote access to API gateway to application portals. It really is a tool that you want to have in your toolbox in order to enable new advanced use cases such as Device ID. So with APM, I don't have to instrument all of my applications to start taking advantage of being able to provide differentiated authentication flows with Device ID.
Cool. Yeah. Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing technology.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So we mentioned it was free.
Yeah. Smriti told us that. And I think Summit did too. That's right. So yeah. So the price is amazing. You can't beat it. Good to go. Well, good stuff, man. Well, hey, I know we were going to look at the actual APM itself. Corey, I don't know if this is a good chance to kind of pop that up and let's jump in. Man. I think people are itching to see this thing. Like, what does it look like, right?
All right. So, Smriti showed you that it's very easy to download a configuration template from the portal. Once you have that template, what you're going to do is you're going to import it on the F5. And so this is what that configuration window looks like. So it's almost just filling out a page of information. Many of these things, most people leave at the default, but I really have a one-page configuration context to enable Device ID for my application. So we just go through, we ask you some questions, which product that you're enabling. So notice that we're using Device ID, but we also have a solution that goes beyond that. Into something Summit was talking about in identifying fraud with Safe, uses the same exact configuration wizard. We ask you where you want to inject that device ID for the JavaScript in your page that's going to do the telemetry collection. And then which applications do you want to apply this to, right? So in our case, we're saying, hey, just apply it across all the application, any injectable page, but you can be very granular, very specific on where device ID is enabled.
Okay. So really quick, Corey. So I know Smriti talked to us about the iApp, template that you can download from that page that she just showed us. So once you download that, and now you come in here, you upload the template or whatever, and then boom, this is there. So really quick, if I'm brand new to this and I'm looking at this, have all of these little drop-down menus been auto-populated because of that template? So they're already there for me, right?
Yep, all the applications that you want to apply, potentially apply this to, already shows up here. So I just need to select them to apply them to a new application. And what's going to happen is when I hit this finish button, it's going to build out all the configuration objects, all the backend dependencies for me to start leveraging device ID.
Nice, nice.
And so one of the things I want to do is actually show you what that looks like from a policy perspective. So once we've configured this configuration template, what's going to actually happen in the background is that there's going to be a policy generated. So APMs are going to be enabled on the virtual server, and this policy, the policy engine with APM is what I like to call self-documenting. It works, like a flow chart. Essentially, we have a bunch of agents that engage a function like authentication, authorization, or make a decision. In this case, what's going to happen is that we're going to present a login page. We're going to grab the device ID from a cookie that gets set by the shape tool. And then if that username exists, what we're doing is we're actually checking if it exists. And then we're also checking in the database if this is a known device ID. If it is, we're just letting the user go right on through. If it is not, then we're prompting for an MFA challenge. And if that's successful, then let the user through.
Okay. And so if it exists and it's already there, you let them on through. Which, by the way, I love the little flow chart. This is that visual policy editor, right, Corey, in the APM. I love it, man.
Exactly. So you know exactly what the policy engine is doing at all times. So from person A to person B, there's no guesswork into how this is actually functioning.
Cool. So so there. I mean, it's right there in front of you. Whether the device ID checks or not, and then the multi-factor authentication, the challenge, and all that kind of stuff. And then the everything over there on the right-hand side is kind of your end action, right?
Yeah. Yep. And so that in action. So what happens here is that this is what we call a subroutine. So based upon a change in context, so say they logged in, they had one device ID, but then something changed. Something changed about their risk status, the device ID went away, their IP address changed. On any piece of contextual information, we can cause this to run again and do a step-up authentication or verify that the device ID is still the same for the same user.
Okay. That's super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That concept of re-entry into a policy flow. This is one of the core capabilities that you require to execute on Zero Trust. We don't want to have static controls. We want to continuously verify all the information that we receive.
Yep.
Yeah. So is that like your MFA challenge? If the device ID checks like, well, that changed a little bit. Is that where your blocks come in? And it's like, well, I'm going to go ahead and validate you again just to make sure. Is that what that's doing there?
Yep. Yes, indeed. And then if the MFA challenge passed, we save your device ID again. And now when you come back through the next time in this workflow, you don't get prompted again for that same MFA challenge.
Nice.
So it reduces friction on your users. And guess what? You're not dealing with, if you've ever logged into like a lot of financial institutions, they will say, hey, is this a public device? Is it your device or not? Well, you're forcing the user to make a security decision. And guess what? Most users, they just go with the default. They just say, yeah, it's my device, right? So it's really not a control. The control comes in when we can leverage the device ID to gather additional insights about the behavior patterns associated with the devices accessing our applications.
And Corey, that's a great real life point. If I'm sitting in a hotel lobby and I'm trying to get to my bank account, and I'm on their little shared computer and they're like, is this your computer? And I'm like, okay, whatever. Yes, it is. Just give me to my stuff. Right. But the truth is, it's like, hey, this technology, device ID, can actually track the device ID, and it's independent, so to speak. Maybe not just so to speak, but it actually is independent of the user saying, okay, fine, yeah, this is my computer, just get me on, right?
Yeah,
So
the use cases are really, really expansive. It's a free solution, so customers are free to leverage it, and for the use cases that make the most sense for their business. For their application. So I'd like to pivot over into what it looks like from a user experience perspective.
Let's do it. Hey, we know how to pivot around here, Corey. Pivot. Let's do it.
Pivot and tap dance. Do that.
That's right.
All right. So let me share
it, man.
screen
I love
here.
it. Yeah. So Corey's bringing up the other screen. Smriti, really quick, any thoughts on what Corey just said?
Yeah, I actually wanted to add in another example, real life example that we see with the data. So one of the most popular features that enterprises use for security is the Remember Me feature, where you can select Remember Me, and then you don't have to put in your username passwords again and again.
Yes.
What we saw internally with the data, so Shape collects a lot of, Shape has a lot of data that comes in from our Shape Enterprise Defense product, which is our anti-automation product. And one of the analysis that we did for such customer, we saw that almost 30% of the time users had checked Remember Me on a shared device, and shared device meaning that device had actually logged into 3 or more different usernames in a given period of time. So even though we had left a very difficult question on the hand of our users to make that judgment of whether this was a good device for them to remember the credentials on or not, it actually did not lead to the same outcome that they had actually hoped for.
That's what a fascinating analysis on that. I mean, that really is, that's the hotel lobby, business center computer that everybody's using, and people still say, yeah, remember me, because they don't want the friction like Corey was talking about.
Well, I think sometimes too, it's not about friction, it's about muscle memory. Like you do that at home and you're just like check. And then you get into that and it's like you're not even really thinking or reading, you're just in, autopilot.
You're definitely not thinking correctly.
That's
if you say remember me on the hotel computer. So don't do that, people.
Well, you're not thinking correctly if you're doing anything financial on the hotel computer.
Touche.
Since they edited that out, I think autopilot's been trademarked, by the way. So I don't know if
right, yeah.
Elon answered the chat.
That's awesome. Corey, let's look at the user experience, right?
Yeah, if you guys are seeing my screen, we're going to start with a little bit of background. And to do this, I'd like to give a shout out to our very own Matthew Derrick, one of our other security architects over in EMEA. And what he did was put together a data store and front-end API using Loopback. So check out Loopback.io. It's a really simple interface where I can leverage Node.js and TypeScript framework. And so in this case, we're going to say, well, we're going to need to instrument this probably, right? We're going to need to have a backend system where I can list all my device IDs. I can query device IDs. I can delete them. So I can plug this into my threat hunting, into my CI/CD tool. So this is really reflecting some of what's happening in the backend. The first thing I'm going to say, send an API request to my API server that is storing my device IDs with my usernames. And saying, okay, I don't have any device IDs registered, right? And so next thing I'm going to do here is go ahead and let's navigate to an application. All right, got to get a login page. I am going to say that I am Barney.
Of course.
Because I've been stuck at home with kids for almost a year.
Is your password super D duper?
I'm just going with straight Barney Rubble.
Oh, Barney and Rubble. I was going to say big purple dinosaur. Gotcha. Beautiful.
Way too many characters. But so next thing, the proxy, the APM is prompting me for my MFA challenge. I'm going to say the MFA challenge is passed. We're simulating that, and boom, we get the application, which is just API Explorer, right? All right. So now let's go back to let's close that browser. And let's go back to Postman and let's see what we got. Aha. Now we see that Barney has 2 device IDs saved in the database, right? And so now when I'm doing my threat hunting and doing my incident analysis or leveraging this for for things like step-up authentication. I'm starting to gather a data set that I can follow the user through their set of devices. So in this case, notice that there are two device IDs. So there's a device ID A and a device ID B. And the difference between the device ID is an attribute-based identifier and a residue-based identifier. So we want to be able to track the user through the changes. So if they clear their cookies, if they update their browser version, we still have an identifier that sticks with the user. This adds another level of stickiness to the device ID.
Nice, because Corey, people do that. They're like, "Hey, just clear all my browsing history, right?" And then no one's going to ever know. It's like, no, that's not true. That's not true.
We're going to make you work a little bit harder to get past this. And even then, that user may be adding friction to their user experience, because now, we're going to put them back through the authentication prompts, which I'm going to show you here. So we're going to go back to the application again. It's my second time coming in. I've already had lunch. I'm going to go back to my application. And I'm going to sign in again. And notice that I did not have the MFA challenge this time.
That's right.
And so leveraging that same device ID. And so, this is showing, really smoothing the user experience while, maintaining security, gathering additional analytics that I can use for, other, functions within my organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. I know, just as a user of websites, web applications, that's really cool when the application doesn't keep asking me over and over. It's like, now granted, just to clarify, I'm not one of those guys that hits remember me on the hotel computer, So just to clear the air on that one. But if I'm sitting on my own computer and they don't keep asking me over and over and they can actually remember some stuff, that's nice for me as a user.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, did we have any questions from the chat?
Cool. We do, actually. We had one earlier about how device ID deals with personal data. Any regulatory requarements that we need to be aware of with that?
M.A. Kadimi. That's a great question.
Yeah.
That's a great Smearty question.
Smearty. I love it.
Absolutely. So as the name suggests, it's a device identifier. So the type of data that we're collecting with the JavaScript is limited to the hardware of the device, whether you're coming from from a laptop versus a mobile. It's limited to the OS. Are you using a Windows-based machine, or is it like a Mac OS-based or an iOS machine? It's limited to your network information. So, what IP address you're coming from, what's your user agent, etc. And the fourth thing is about your browser. So, are you using Chrome or a Safari? What version of Chrome are you coming from? What kind of plugins you have? So the only personal data per se that we are collecting for device ID is an IP address in those jurisdictions that consider IP address as PII. Device ID does not collect any application level details, no usernames, no nothing. So there is no conversation that comes up around, how much level of personal data are we actually collecting? So it's just the IP address. And, we have the data, of course, as we collect is encrypted at rest, at motion, etc. So we take, a very, very security first position when we're collecting any of our data and processing it. So that kind of eases out everyone on, are the regulatory requirements that we need to be aware of, that we need to check the box. Since we are a security company, it would be very, it's kind of like a basic requirement for us to make sure that we are privacy compliant with everything that we ever create.
Beautiful.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, we also had a question from Daniel Pacheco on IAPS. He's like, hey, are IAPS alive and well? I thought I read that FI was deprecating IAPS.
Yes, we are going to the new generation, which is called FAST. So at some point, we will have a new configuration template in Wizard, but stay tuned for that.
Nice, okay. Nice. When you say new generation, Corey, I just think about Star Trek immediately. I don't know why. We're going to blow up the old USS Enterprise and we're going to build a brand new fast one, right?
Well, fast with IAPS, it's hard to automate that. So if I wanted to plug the deployment of this into my CI/CD pipeline, that's not so easy. What fast is going to allow us to do is do just that, right? So work, more readily and more seamlessly with CI/CD workflows.
Yeah, super cool.
Well, and it's not impossible with IAPS, but it is definitely not for the faint of heart. Robin. Our good friend Robin. How does this?
We got to just give a shout out to Robin, by the way. He is the king of audio, visual, everything. So man, that guy's amazing. Yep. Anyway, go ahead.
His question: how does the Silverline implementation of Device ID integrate with a big IP?
So the Silverline integration actually is a very, very straightforward integration for Device ID. It actually came out, I think, 2 weeks ago, a pretty recent one. So on the Silverline portal itself, there is a toggle button that allows you to switch on and off for Device ID. And with that toggle button, what it does is Silverline will inject the JavaScript for you, get the cookie, and it flows downstream for you. So it doesn't have to be integrated, or you don't have, as a Silverline customer, you don't have to take any other action to activate Device ID in your environment, because it's as easy as a single toggle button. You don't even have to get the JavaScript on your own through the F5 Cloud Services portal.
It's like the Ron Popeil set it and forget it rotisserie oven.
John.
Yeah.
Smitty, I thought that it was easy when you showed us earlier, where you just click go and like that. And no, Silverline's even easier. It takes it to the next level. You click a little toggle button and you're done. So
hey, Smirty is next level, right? So
well, absolutely, yeah. To be fair,
going beyond that, right now, because Device ID is communicated or in a cookie, when that flows downstream, if you want to leverage Big IP to parse that cookie and then embed that in a set of headers, or send that to that information to a backend API, or put that information in another cookie, for example, you can absolutely do that.
I may or may not have already written some iRules for that before I knew what Device ID was, because somebody was asking me for a little bit of help. So I was like, oh, here's how you parse that string. And so I already have the iRule primitives for when I get to play with it more.
And we use it during this demo.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, beautiful. Good to go, man.
So I have a question, just that, at the admin screen or whatever, when you went through the iApp and you applied it to one or more applications, when you're looking at that data from an application perspective, how do you break out by? Can you use that data to break it out by application, or is it just you're using that data as it is in each application as it makes sense?
Yeah. So option number 2, right? Which is the use case for your application. It's going to vary wildly based upon what that application does and what risk you're trying to mitigate. So, for example, a payments application versus, say, the HR portal or something of the sort, or the remote access portal. You may use that Device ID differently, right? So that marketing team or payments fraud team is going to have a different use case from the security and infrastructure team.
Okay,
cool. Yeah, so it gives you a lot of flexibility, like you said, Corey. I mean, it's gonna vary wildly potentially, so you can use it as it makes sense.
But you see through the fog of war, the fog of the internet, right? I need something that goes beyond IP addresses that they can literally change when someone walks across the street. So we don't want to leverage only IP addresses in order to persistently identify a device or user.
Yeah. And goodness knows there is fog on the internet, Corey. So to be able to cut through that stuff is beneficial for sure. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff. Well, hey, I know we're coming up. We've got just about 5 minutes left in the whole show. We say this every week, or just about every week. Like time flies when you're having fun, when you're talking to great people like this.
Yep.
So maybe we'll throw it back to both of you really quick. Any kind of last thoughts or things that you wanted to share before we kind of wrap it up today? So maybe Corey, we'll start with you, and then we'll give Smitty the last word.
When it comes to Device ID, this is the people handling incident response in organizations are always looking for additional pieces of metadata, and this provides a quick win in providing an additional pivot point for your threat hunters to look at additional anomalies. So that anomaly might be, hey, I've seen this one device log into like 50 accounts, for example. Yeah. Certainly anomaly when one device normally leverages 1 or 2 accounts, for example, right? In addition to that, think about the larger goal that we're marching towards, which is more zero trust. So Device ID at the edge and that edge being anywhere where your applications are running. So, public cloud, your private cloud, really it's not just for internet facing applications. You can leverage device ID, pretty much anywhere throughout where you have application transactions from, user devices.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a great point, and I appreciate you bringing up the zero trust thing too. That's one of those words a lot of people like to just throw around, that hey, zero trust this, zero trust that. But the truth is, when you get down to, in Jason's term, the brass tacks, like the actual technology, how are we going to do this? Yeah. Then this is it's. I'm not going to say this is it, like this is the entire puzzle, but this is a piece of that you need to have. So yeah, it's a great point to make.
I tell you what, it doesn't get much easier.
No, it doesn't, man. Yeah, Smitty just told us about that toggle button. Like, bloop, we're done. I mean, how could it get easier? And
you know what? There's also a kill switch in the iApp. I don't know if we skimmed over that option, but it's very easy to turn on, turn off if you need to.
Oh, that's great to know, man. Anytime there's a kill switch, I feel like we're in the middle of like Mission Impossible movie or something, So, which is always good. It's always good to feel that way.
That's right.
Awesome, man. Well, Corey, thanks so much. So, Smitty, any thoughts from you?
Just want to say that we've spent a lot of research energy in creating device ID, which would be very, very useful for us, or which is useful for us when we were fighting a lot of automation through our Shape Enterprise defense. So having pulled that fundamental capability out for everyone in the security community, what we want to do is make sure we are able to help you improve your security posture. And we've tried to make this as easy as possible for you guys to download it, play around with it, inject it in your website. So I would highly encourage everyone to, at least deploy it in your test environment and see what happens.
Yeah, it's too easy not to. And I love the approach too. I feel like, I guess I'm just going to say this. I feel like in the past, F5, some of the devices were known to be a little difficult to configure. There's so many buttons and knobs and all that to twist and all that. But now it's just so easy. It's so straightforward. So I really appreciate kind of the movement to that, to that side of simplicity. Yeah. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Well, good to go, man. Well, Smriti and Corey, it's been a pleasure. We really appreciate your time today, your expertise in all of this, and just sharing the goodness of device ID with us and with our whole community. So thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, both of you.
All right. You guys have a good day.
Take care.
Jason, what a great thing, man. Wow. I tell you what, I mean, DevCentral Connects is always awesome, and today is no different. So we learned what device ID is and how it works, and that it's free, right?
And that it's super easy.
It's so super
I almost
easy.
want me some Silverline, so I just need to, toggle a button.
Man, yeah. Even if you
although the JavaScript itself is not that hard.
It's not that hard. I didn't think we could make it any easier, and then they did. So that's awesome, man. Well, man, really appreciate Summit, who is leading the way on this, and Smriti, the mastermind behind all this, and Corey, and man, just all the great people, really honestly trying to make the whole world a better place, a more secure place, And that's part of the big heart behind this. So super cool. Awesome,
well, before we get out of here, I forgot to do this at the top of the show, so I apologize. But, coming on Tuesday, it's a special day for DevCentral Connects. We're doing the F5 Ansible Lab with Tyler Hatton from Worldwide Technology. So that's 8 a.m. Pacific on Tuesday, February 9th. And that's we're going to be going at it for 2 hours. And so, whether you just want to join us and observe, or you want to dig in and do the lab, you need to register for that. And so, we have details on that show page on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so get out there, check that out, join us on Tuesday morning. And then next Thursday, we're back right here, same time, and 2:30 or 12:30 Pacific, 2:30 Central. And come celebrate my birthday with me as we welcome a couple guys from the F5 Labs team to talk about credential stuffing.
That's awesome. We're going to stuff Jason's credentials into everything we can for his birthday.
That's right. Maybe you can just stuff cash into my pocket.
Stuff cash into your pocket. That's whatever works, man. Good to go. And then I would say quickly about that Ansible lab. Many of you may remember the Terraform lab we did with Tyler. This has been a couple of months ago, I guess now.
Yeah, December 3rd, I think we did, or December 1st.
Crazy. All the way back in the year 2020, Seems like forever ago. But no, it's super cool. It's such a beneficial, time together. And if you remember, if you were here, if you were not here, there is the lab environment that Worldwide Technology has, and it's free. You spin up all the resources, and it's just an amazing, test ground that you can use really whenever you want.
Yeah.
So,
and a note on that: make sure you register from your work email. You get added to the system much more quickly without red tape if you do from your work email. If you're joining or you register from like Gmail or Yahoo or something like that, it's probably going to need a phone call or whatever to work that out. So use your work email, and you'll get right through.
Yeah, makes it a little easier. Awesome.
Yep.
Well, good to go, man. Well, hey, I know we're at time right now, so just want to say thanks again to all of you, the DevCentral community, for making DevCentral what it is, the world's greatest online community, technical community. We're here to help each other. We're in this thing together, and so we just appreciate your your connection with us, your interaction with us on this show and on all the shows. So stay active out there. We really appreciate all of you, and we'll see you out there in the community.
Have a good weekend, everyone.